All right, back one more time or one more sport, one more pro sport to deal with. So, done NBA, done NFL, done MLB. I'm going to the last and the one I know the least about, but I do have some knowledge of hockey through different means. So, I do remember some players here and there. I didn't watch it a whole lot, but between growing up in the Mighty Ducks era, the movie, you knew when the Ducks were created, and you kind of knew some of the world around. The Nintendo games were awesome. You had like Wayne Gretzky hockey, but you had some decent hockey games across platforms. So you saw the players, you saw the logos, and all that. And then I've seen a little bit more recently. It's actually pretty decent to watch, maybe compared to the other sports to me now. You can in HD, you can actually see where the puck is. I remember before HD, they tried to put like a little trail on the puck, and that was super annoying. But yeah, you used to not be able to even see what the hell was going on. So anyway, I do have some like preference, I think, in my head of like who I'd root for one team over the other. And it's just based off a franchise. This is probably not one where I'm going to have too many like, oh, I like this one team, but I hated the rest of them because I just can't differentiate any of them and won't know the players. So for the most part, it should be teams that I know that I like most of the time or don't like, or I'm indifferent about. And that's the tiers that we had. Kept the tiers from the last time. So mostly like more than don't, indifferent, don't like, and mostly don't like. Um, I mean, I hope I can recognize them all based on logo. I think I can. But then also like where they moved from. If they moved, I might remember, might not. But we'll see. All right, Colorado Avalanche. I strangely had this time when I was younger where I liked the Avalanche. I think it was Joe Sakic was on the team, and what was the goalie's name? Patrick Roy Waugh. Is that I can't think he's French. But yeah, they were good. They won the Stanley Cup, and I liked the Avalanche. I liked their colors and their logo. So I'm going to start them out in the more like than don't like. And when I say like NHL is a little bit different because it's more that I'm indifferent about them than like I like them and then I'm indifferent sometimes. All right, the Blackhawks. Blackhawks, I don't remember too much about their players. I feel like they had Patrick Kane for a while. But I remember Wayne's World, and they had the Blackhawks gear. Blackhawks gear is pretty famous. Um, but they were never my favorite. I don't know why. I didn't really like the Blackhawks. I didn't root for the Blackhawks, and if the Blackhawks were playing somebody, I kind of knew I would not root for them. So I'd have them in the don't like more than like section. Not a huge fan of their logo and gear, even though it's famous. It's just not my style. For example, like the Cleveland Indians. I love the Indian from the Cleveland Indians, but this Blackhawks like side profile or something I don't like as much. Okay, here's a challenging one. I had to think for a second. Columbus Blue Jackets. Um, Expansion team. I don't remember where they moved from, or if they did move, or if they were a newer team. But I don't know much about the Blue Jackets. It seems like a super generic logo. I think that's the state of Ohio flag, which they are the only Ohio team. So I guess that works in the red, white, and blue. But I would have probably done something else. The Blue Jackets are probably a type of what soldier or something. I don't know even what they are. They're a team I'm indifferent about. I don't know anything about them. I've never watched them. I can't tell you if they were good or bad any given year. So I'll pass on them for now. St. Louis Blues. Um, Liked the St. Louis Blues a lot. Played with the St. Louis Blues on whoa, what was that game? There was like an NHL live or something like that back in the day that I used the Blues a lot. They had Brett Hull, who was one of my favorite players growing up. Why? I have no idea. Now, I did like other St. Louis teams, so I like the Cardinals. I mentioned in the other video. I thought the Rams were fine when they were with St. Louis. Um, so I probably like the Blues a little bit because of that. But I like their logo. They had to have moved, I would think, because the Blues doesn't really come from St. Louis unless it's like from Memphis and they moved it up or something. So I don't know. But that's a team. I think they're in the West, and I'll have them in my mostly like because I'd root for them over a lot of teams. Boston Bruins. Bruins, I like their colors. I'm not a huge Boston sports fan. I did like the Celtics with like Larry Bird. I mentioned that, but the Bruins I've never really rooted for. I do have them in our fantasy team league this year, so I have to root for them a little bit. But they're a team that I haven't really ever rooted for much. I'm not indifferent about them, so I'm going to have them in kind of the reason I'm struggling. There's a team a couple years ago that I think when they won the Stanley Cup that I thought was pretty cool. So I did like them. They're not. I'm not indifferent about them. I know them, but now I'm trying to think like, do I like them more than I don't? I'm going to stick them down here for now, and we'll see once I get to more of them where that sits. It's a little tough too with NHL because you have the whole Canada and US thing. I don't think I'm too much like I only like one or the other, but we may find that I am once I get going. So we'll see. Montreal Canadiens. Uh, they're a team I don't like more than I like. I never liked their logo. I never liked. It seemed like they could have done more being a Montreal team. Like Canadians, I don't like. I know it's French, and it's French Canada, but like they don't have as cool of a mascot or things as some of the other teams. And I'm just like, it's kind of a boring team. I could say I'm kind of indifferent about it, but for the most part, I'd probably root for other teams to beat them or several other teams. I don't know players for them. Can't remember any specific for them or if they're like a successful franchise historically, but don't know. Vancouver Canucks. That's how you do a logo. So that's cool. I like the Canucks. I always like the name. Like they didn't just say Wales or something. Cool logo. Cool. I like Vancouver. Vancouver had the Grizzlies for a while and they lost them. It's up by Seattle. I've been to Vancouver, been to Victoria and Vancouver. It's really nice up there. So cool team. Don't feel like they've had a whole lot of success. I could be wrong. I just don't remember them being very good most of the time that I was growing up or anything. They were kind of the also ran team, maybe. Washington Capitals. Now this one's a little more popular. You got Ovechkin, who I think is still he's way up there on the scoring now. I don't think he's going to catch Gretzky. I mean, I think that's impossible probably, but I didn't like Ovechkin for a while. He had a little bit of a rivalry with the Penguins from with Sidney Crosby because they're both like young hotshot players and they were both scoring a lot and stuff. But he's proven, I think, to be the more durable and better player. I think he got hurt recently, but for the most part, he's durable, and I appreciate him more now that I am older. He's older. I like the Capitals a little bit now, but I wouldn't have rooted for them before. I wouldn't say I'm indifferent because I kind of know them. But for now, I'm going to have them in the more don't like than like because it's more just a recent thing. And I don't like Washington teams all that much. New Jersey Devils, the Devils, famous from Seinfeld, spelling the name on the chest. I don't remember them being very good for the most part, but that's what I remember most about them. I never used them in games or anything. I didn't like their logo a whole lot for some reason, and I still don't. So I'm going to have them in more my don't like more than like. All right, Anaheim Mighty Ducks, made after a kids movie, which was awesome and warranted it. But there was also a cartoon that had actual ducks in it that I watched on Disney Channel that I liked as well. And I liked the hockey team. They had Paul Kariya. I remember Paul Kariya. Maybe Timu Solane being on there as well for a while. So the Ducks I liked. I'd root for the Ducks for the most part. I don't think there's a team that I didn't like having. They just haven't been good for a long time. I was a little disappointed when they took the Mighty out of the name. It's just the Ducks now. It's like, kind of like the Mighty Ducks. But we grew up in that era where everybody was like playing hockey for 2 years. All right, Calgary Flames. Flames, I'm indifferent about. I mean, man, their logo's boring. Their team's kind of boring. I don't think they've really ever done anything that I can recall. I don't remember players from the obviously a Canadian team, but I don't know. Flames just, yeah, flame out for me. Philadelphia Flyers, super cool logo, classic logo. A team, though, that I often didn't really root for and I kind of rooted against. And I think it's because I like the Penguins more. So the Flyers, I'd push back on and be like, yeah, I don't really like them a whole lot. So I'm going to have them in my more don't like more than like. With this, and as I calibrate across, I am going to move Boston up. I think I like Boston more than a lot of those teams. So moving them up. Vegas Golden Knights, newer team. It's one of those things weird in hockey. You like get really good really fast. I guess it's the way their expansion drafting works, where you can pick. So you have to like put certain players on the market or a certain number of players for each team. And I'm sure you might want to put guys who are like older with more money and everything out there. And if a new team's like, hell, I'll pay it and have 2 or 3 really good players, you can probably get good pretty quick. And I guess that's what they did, because I remember the Predators did that. The Kraken kind of did it a little bit. The Knights. So it happens. But I liked them. I liked them when they got started. It was cool when they made the Stanley Cup. Don't know their players and where they came from, and the makeup of the team, or if the coaching was good. That's something I can never tell in hockey. Is like, are the coaches good? They seem to get fired all the time. Like, be great one year and they get fired the next year. Maybe more so than the other sports even. But yeah, it's they're good, and I don't know the schemes and stuff as well, like their alignments and line changes and stuff to know like what's special about them. All right, the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes are pretty good. Uh, I want to say their logo is cool, but it kind of reminds me of some sort of like 90s toy product. There's probably something I'm specifically thinking of that's like related to Nerf or one of those little guns that shoots like spinny things out or something. So yeah, I never considered this to look like a hurricane, just my thing. And I don't really think about them. I don't really care about them. If I do, I'm probably not rooting for them that much, but they're kind of in my indifferent category. Carolina teams can kind of be that way for me. The Panthers and everything now, Charlotte Hornets now, like they're just out of sight, out of mind. New York Islanders. So I guess they're kind of like the Mets, right? They've got the blue, they've got the orange. They are the also rans in New York to me. I'm indifferent about them. I don't think of the Islanders. I don't know the Islanders or anything on it. I guess they're on Long Island, would be my assumption. Uh, all right, the Winnipeg Jets. It's a dumb logo, first of all. You just have a jet over a maple leaf, like what the hell? But I think this was the team that used to be the Hartford Whalers, which the Whalers logo was awesome. The Whalers is a cool name. You probably can't say it anymore because it's killing whales like the Finns people. But I don't like them because of that. Like I just they could be the same team or whatever, but it's like I don't like it when they switch uh, cities and stuff, and they like take away that cool mascot and cool logo and things. So I'm gonna have them down there. And don't worry, there's some teams that I like that are going to go up higher, even though it looks like we're stair stepping down. Um, and then we haven't even got to my like least favorite team. Okay, the Los Angeles Kings, famous growing up for Gretzky being there. I know he was with the Oilers for a long time, but he was with the Kings. Just it's he's one of like the sports figures that to me is one of the most fun to watch relative to all of his peers. Like you have Jordan, who's kind of like that in the NBA, where he's just kind of far and above, but it's always like, oh man, if I could see Larry Bird too, it's really fun. Or there's some other players. Gretzky to me is like head and shoulders above skill set wise any other hockey player I've ever seen, and he's super fun to watch. That said, I'm not like a huge Kings fan. I like them more than I don't like them, but they're not one of my favorites. It's mostly because Gretzky was there, and I remember the black and silver from growing up. Seattle Kraken, cool name. Glad they settled on a cool name. Cool logo. Expansion team. They're pretty good. I like them. I drafted them. I think the first year in my fantasy league, I drafted them to maybe the second year. But yeah, they're a fun team. They're decent. I don't think they're great right now, but they were good to kind of start. Tampa Bay Lightning. This I don't even know if this is like the actual full logo because it feels like they have one that has more color in it. But I like the Lightning. They were good. They made the Stanley Cup. They might have won it a couple years ago and they made it again or something like that. But kind of cool. I mean, good team in Tampa. I've got a lot of people that live around Tampa and at work that I work with. And they're a fun team. They like the Lightning and root for them, maybe more so than like the Rays. They even say they like them as much as like the Bucks and everything down there. So cool to have a good fan base like that. Toronto Maple Leafs. Maple Leafs, a very famous old school team. I like the Maple Leafs, for example, and I'll split them because I like the Maple Leafs more than some of the other teams. I don't know if it's their colors. They remind me a little of the Blue Jays, and I like when a city has kind of similar colors for their teams. I think that's pretty cool. But yeah, the Maple Leafs I've never had a problem with, and I just I know that they're there. I'm not indifferent, but they're somebody I like more than I don't. The Oilers. So again, Gretzky, I think, played here for the most part, and somebody could say like, no, it was this other Canadian team. I'm sorry, I get them confused, but I think it's the Oilers. And so yeah, that team. I always like their logo. I like the name. It's like Houston Oilers. We used to have and lost them. But yeah, we've got the Oilers. They have what's his name now? Gosh, why can't I think of his name? Who's like really good? It'll pop into my head, but they've been pretty good the last couple of years. So I'm gonna have them up in the like more than don't like because I do like is it Connor McDavid? That's who I think I'm thinking of up there as well. Florida Panthers. I don't really root for the Panthers. I don't like the Panthers. It's kind of because I like the Lightning, and then you have the Panthers. The Panthers is like a very generic name and logo. Uh, I've never really rooted for the team when they're out there. They had a couple good players, and I can't remember their names, but just still didn't want them to win. Rather root for Tampa Bay or the other area or teams around that area. All right, the Pittsburgh Penguins. Pittsburgh Penguins. Growing up, were a team I used a ton in games and everything. Mario Lemieux, Jaromir Jagr, two of my favorite players of all time. Just like the team. I think they won the Stanley Cup one year when I was watching, and I did see it, and it was cool. They seemed. I always liked Jagr had the long mullet, and Lemieux had, I think, the mullet for a while. And they just were kind of Jagr's like still playing, I think, or was playing not all that long ago, which is great. Maybe not in the NHL, but some pro league. So got to respect those hockey players that play a long, long time because they take a lot of beating. All right, we've got Nashville. So Nashville's newer, the Predators, and they were fun to watch. Have some cool fans, and it's a fun thing to have like in Nashville, I think, because they don't have a ton of support for like other sports other than the Titans, but even the Titans aren't always that great. So it was cool to get hockey because they don't have a winter, basketball sport to go with it, and so. I like the Predators. I haven't been to a game. I probably should have tried to go to a game at some point because I've never been to an NHL game, and I hear they're fun. But I'd have them up in the more like than don't, and we'll probably adjust some of these. I know one I'm going to probably move down because I just thought of something, which I'll go ahead and do. The Kings. So I know I mentioned Gretzky, but without Gretzky, I haven't really rooted for them. I don't like them for the most part. I don't like Los Angeles teams for the most part. So I'm going to say probably don't like more than like, and the time that I did was just this period where he was there. New York Rangers. Mark Messier always comes to my mind when I think of the Rangers. And I did like them then. I rooted for him. I don't know if he ended up winning a Stanley Cup. I hope he did. If he didn't, it's like, one of those really good players that just didn't make it. But yeah, he always seemed kind of cool. And I think he's on a lot of the broadcasting and stuff now. So I always liked the Rangers for that. And I'm not really a huge New York sports fan either. So that's a little, besides the Mets, maybe that's a team I'd root for. Detroit Red Wings. So I'm going to go ahead and take a stand here and say they were mostly don't like. Sergei Fedorov from a long, long time ago. I think Steve Eiserman was on that team. And I don't know why. Their logo's awesome, right? It's classic and it's a famous team for sure. I don't know if I like arbitrarily created this like villain out of them because they were good and they were like red in the era where we were growing up in Soviet Russia being red. I have no idea like what my initial problem with them was, or if they were, a rival. I was trying to think, are they a rival to anyone on here that I would have liked? I don't think so. So weird thing, but I just never liked them and just since haven't really rooted for them. And if I had to throw a team out there that said like, oh, I usually root against them, it's the Red Wings. Yet somehow I can imagine myself, somebody say, oh no, dude, here's why they're great. And I could change my mind. Wouldn't mind having a Red Wing shirt, for example. It's pretty cool. Buffalo Sabres. Man, these guys suck. I always draft them. They suck every time. I always like read that they're supposed to be better or good and they suck. There's actually one guy that goes to my gym as well who always has a Sabres hat on that I'm just like, dude, what the hell? And I don't even watch, but I'm just like, he's like, yeah, we're terrible. And so the Sabres. That said, I probably have them in my like more than don't like. Well, we might move a couple of these around, but I try to root for them. They just can't get there. So, oh well. Ottawa Senators. I just never gave a crap about the Senators. I forget they exist, so I'm going to have them in the indifferent category. Know nothing about them. Seems like they never do anything of consequence. So there they sit. San Jose Sharks. I think this was the champion of our logo tournament in the thread. Friends, we did a tournament of all the pro sports logos, and I think the Sharks won. Awesome logo, biting the stick. Don't know if the team's ever any good. Feels like they're always not good or mediocre. But I'd say I like more than I don't like just because of the shark logo, and their jerseys and stuff are pretty cool. Dallas Stars. Dallas Stars, I feel like I liked because they were on, was it Mighty Ducks 2? Where they went and watched them play, I think. And so they're like, oh, I know them. And so, yeah, I don't really know anything about them, but I like the Stars and I usually root for the Stars. I'll draft the Stars some of the time. So I'll have them there. Utah Hockey Club. I think they're trying to get a real name and they're just the hockey club for now. And I feel like, and I'm going to give them some credit for this, they tried to get Yeti as their name, which is sweet. And then it got like nixed from the freaking company Yeti, which is bullcrap that they can do that. So yeah, it would have been a good name. They're going to end up being something dumb, I'm sure. But man, that would have been a sweet logo, sweet team. They were the Coyotes. The Coyotes had an awesome logo too, but it was in like Phoenix and nobody watched or cared. So I'll give this team a shot. I like those expansion teams or when they move and get kind of a new branding. I like what they're trying to do. So we'll go there. And then the Minnesota Wild, a pretty decent logo, but man, I forget that team exists like 100%. Just, I don't even know what division they're in or who they play, like the rivals are. So yeah, the Wild are a team that I kind of forget. So let me double check this. I try to keep fewer off the top line, but in reality, those are the ones that like I'd root for. So I'll go from the bottom up and try to order based on who I know that I would root for. The Red Wings, okay. Panthers. Okay, Flyers, I'm going to move up because I'd root for them over a lot of these teams. Okay, and then the Jets, Devils. I'll move the Devils up over a few of these. Jets. There's a player, I was just thinking of this randomly, but like there was a player on the Flyers when I was growing up that was pretty famous that oh man, it almost popped into my head. Forsberg, Peter Forsberg, I think, was a cool player that I liked, so that's why I moved the Flyers up. All right, Blackhawks, Canadians, yeah, Capitals, yeah. No, I'd probably root for the Capitals over the Devils. And Capitals, well, that's today. Again, taking Gretzky into account, that's probably right. Okay, the indifferent teams, like I wouldn't. So the Wild, I like more than some of these teams. Blue Jackets, I probably like less. Islanders, I probably like more. Hurricanes, I like more. Calgary, I'd root for the Blue Jackets over those Canadian teams. You know what? I'd root for Columbus because they're closer. Probably a lot of like Ohio State fans though that like them and can't stand them, so I probably shouldn't. But oh well, there's the rest of Ohio. I shouldn't assume everybody's Ohio State fan. All right, Utah Hockey Club, Dallas Sharks, Sabres. Okay, Oilers. I'm going to take down a little bit. Maple Leafs. I'm going to take down a little bit, and we'll go from there. Okay, so Stars, Sharks, Sabres. I'd probably root for the Sharks and Stars over the Sabres and the Stars over the Sharks. Stars over the Rangers. I'm going to take the Rangers down a bit. I'd probably root for them right around there. Predators. I'd root for the Predator because they're close again. I'd root for them over the Lightning. I'd root for the Stars over the Lightning. Kraken. Okay, Boston. I'm going to bring down. I'd have them probably just below the Rangers. Canucks, again, a Canadian team that I like their logo and stuff, but I probably wouldn't root for them over some of these. So Sabres, Utah, Rangers, Boston. Let's just chunk them down with these. And I'd probably root for the Oilers over them, honestly, with McDavid. Kraken, Knights, Avalanche. I'd root for the Kraken over the Knights now because they already had success, and I'd probably root for the Predators over them. I'd move the Predators up. I wouldn't mind because I don't think they won it. I think they just made the Stanley Cup at some point. And then the Avalanche, again, I like Sakic and stuff, but I don't know that I'd root for him now, so I'd probably have him maybe right around there. Okay, then we have the Ducks, the Penguins, and the Blues. I probably have the Ducks third because I just don't know. And I'm going to do this because I don't really root for them other than initially. I'm going to put them right here, so I have one team from each who I don't like as much, because these are the two teams I would root to win the West and the East, or whatever they're called. Like the Penguins are the East, the Blues are in the West, and then I would probably root for the Penguins over the Blues, but just probably would depend on the team. And I was trying to think who. So the Red Wings are. I can't remember if they're in the West or the East. I feel like they're in the West for some reason. I can't remember. So I was trying to think if there's an East team that I would probably root for less. And maybe it is the Panthers, but I'll just leave it at that because I don't very much dislike any of the other teams. So kept it shorter for this because I don't know these teams all that well. But that's the NHL order, I think, on who I would root for.